Chicago and the Philippines. A comprehensive review of the week's special community events, featuring many exciting personalities, handled by the most professional Chicago Philippine Reports TV staff.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Chicago Philippine Reports TV, still the #1 Filipino show in the Midwest. I'm Grilly Pascual. Welcome to our show. Today we have all the top stories from the Philippines. We also have what's happening in our own Filipino-American community of Chicago. We have interesting interviews led by our very own executive producer, Miss Veronica Layton. We have Bridget Cotero Carino. All these are coming up and more afterward from our sponsors. Please stay with us.
Yan! Dito na! Perfect!
Florida made landfall in Maconacon Town in Isabela Province Tuesday morning. More than 300 town residents were evacuated. Heavy rains led to poor visibility in the northern part of the province. Strong winds toppled several trees. The roof of this chapel in Tumawini Town was blown away.
Medyo po lumalakas na sir. Mga 3 oras siguro sir. Hindi kayo natatakot? Di naman sir. Basta dyan naman si Lord.
Residents fear the Cagayan River will overflow and damage their corn crops. In Cabagan Town, 2 bridges have become impassable as the river overflowed. Residents are closely monitoring the water level of the Pinakanawan River in Ilagan City as it may trigger floods.
Since patapos medyo pahina na yung ulan, hopefully, hindi na yan aabot dito sa pag-apaw dito sa may flooring ng kalsada. Nakikita natin na medyo lumiliwanag na dun sa bandang forest area na yun yung source ng mga tubig.
Hours of torrential rains brought by Florida also pounded the province of Cagayan. Residents have no choice but hope for the best as the storm toppled trees. The town of Bagao felt Florida's wrath around noon. Cornfields were flooded as rivers swelled, cutting access to some bridges in the municipality. Amid the non-stop rains and powerful winds, residents here are reminded of Typhoon Ulysses in 2020 that caused casualties and swamped villages. A local disaster official said they've learned their lesson, which is why they conducted a forced evacuation ahead of the storm.
Yung kasing Taytay Bantay ay may threat po siya for a possible landslide. Kung hindi kami mag-conduct ng forced evacuation, paano po magkaroon ng landslide at mataburan yung mga tao. Meron po kasi kaming experience nung Ulysses na merong natabunan, may namatay, may casualty sa amin.
The Cagayan Valley Medical Center was no match for Florida, damaging its roof and flooding the hospital. Patients from flooded wards were moved to higher floors.
Our hospital was really hit with the recent heavy rains and winds, so that our hospital, especially on the ground floor, all the parts of our ground floor was flooded, and there was some ceiling that fell down. And it's good that we experienced only about 3 hours, and that the heavy rains and the winds has stopped, so that we're now in the process of cleaning our hospital.
More than 100 families have been moved to evacuation centers. Provincial disaster officials say COVID protocols are being implemented in these facilities. Relief goods have also been prepositioned.
Philippine Executive Secretary Vic Rodriguez faced the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee on Tuesday, which is investigating the sugar importation mess. Rodriguez tells senators President Marcos' concurrent agriculture chief had nothing to do with Sugar Order Number 4, which seeks to import 300,000 metric tons of sugar for industrial and household use. Among those who signed and approved SO Number 4 were Agriculture Undersecretary Leocaldio Sebastian and Sugar Regulatory Administrator Hermenegildo Serafica. Both have since resigned after Malacanang said the import order was illegal.
Without submitting to us the following: the import plan, which should be the precursor for any sugar order to be issued. No knowledge of the acting secretary, His Excellency Ferdinand Marcos Jr., and without even convening.
For Senator Risa Ontiveros, Executive Secretary Rodriguez merits a Senate return, arguing he still has a lot of explaining to do.
Sinasabi ng Malacanang na illegal ang SO4. How can it be illegal when it was the Executive Secretary himself who issued a memorandum dated 15th July 2022 authorizing former Yusek Sebastian to sit as ex-officio chairman? Sa nasabing memo, he has the authority to sign administrative issuances.
Serafica insists there is a need to import more supply to head off a shortage and a possible price hike due to limited stockpile. He also asserts stakeholders were consulted. But Manuel Lamata, president of the United Sugar Producers Federation, tells senators the SRA duped them to endorse the order.
We were made to believe that the president ordered the importation of 300, they wanted the importation of 300,000 metric tons because it was a national emergency. So we signed because who are we to question the wisdom of the president?
Lamata also hit the SRA for its failure to check the real situation on the ground when it comes to the country's sugar supply.
Si Mr. Serapica, wakwak na wala na daw asukal, wala naman siya nagpa-survey. Ilang beses na po, I wrote him 4 or 5 times. You make a national survey. That is the job of the SRA. In the past administrations, SRA used to make 3 surveys in 1 year. Before the start of milling, middle of milling, and after milling. Then you can make an exact data how much is required by the country and the consumption to import or not to import.
Via Times, vital news, vibrant views for the Filipino Asian communities in Chicago. Via Times for your most interesting and exciting reading and your party coverages. Via Times has very interesting columnists. You name it, Via Times has it. Law, Filipino news, dentistry, immigration, humor, serious opinions, health, beauty, mysticism, Bata Corner, showbiz, and intelligently written editorials. Call Via Times at 773-866-0811.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat, and welcome to Veronica's segment of the show. Today, I have a lady who is a very familiar face, not only here in our show, but also in Milwaukee where she lives. Let us welcome Miss Janet Jordy.
Thank you very
your name right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Tita Vera, for the quiet introduction.
Okay, Janet. Janet is a very active leader in Milwaukee, right?
No, in Wanakee, Madison.
Of Madison, Wisconsin, and let us hear from her what she does. First thing, Janet, please tell us briefly about yourself.
I am Jeanette Jordy, and I have been in the United States of America for 21 years. Since I moved to America, it's a dream of mine to have a foundation. So I have been a member of a lot of nonprofit or NGOs and other clubs to do volunteering and to hone my leadership skills. But it is pride and honor to serve the Filipino community. And I have been the president of PAMANA, or the Philippine American Association of Madison and neighboring areas, for terms. And currently, I am the founder and the president, besides my daytime job, of a nonprofit organization called Global Inspiration. And Global Inspiration is spelled not in I, but one. But it is read as Global Inspiration.
Great, terrific. Okay, let's talk about this. Being a founder and president of global inspiration of what is this all about?
So there are four women of color gathered, four of us, and one from Waukesha, one from Wanakee, one was Wauwatosa, and one from Madison. We gathered together and founded this nonprofit organizations because we know we can do more than volunteering, we can do more than donating, and this is to educate, mentor, and advocate regarding human trafficking, domestic abuse, and incestuous relationship, and talk to women to give them empowerment. So I know that the four of us are doing a great job. It's overwhelming. The response of the community is very overwhelming. And in fact, we have 2 scholarships that we just released last week. And, and we are also donating to the physically incapacitated committee. These are all from the Philippines, but the scholarship is in the United States of America.
About these other women who are with you in this organization, how were you able to choose them?
Because I know they are smart and they are humble. They are authors. They are active in social events, and I know they have the heart and they are so humble. I want to the women to be involved, to talk about who are we serving, not I, me, and myself. And these are the perfect women that I chose. And they agree, oh, yes, sure, Jeanette, we can help you out. We can help you out. And I totally agree with what is the mission of this global inspiration.
Yeah, what is really the mission of global inspiration?
So global inspiration, so I would say that we are here, we are created to help the less privileged people, not in Philippines, in United States, and in West Africa. And we are doing advocacy, we are doing mentorship, and we are also donating money to our partners in the Philippines. So it is more on the underprivileged and the human trafficking, the domestic abuse. So we have that mission. Our charitable purpose is for the Philippines, United States, and West Africa.
How old is the organization?
Believe it or not, it's only 6 months. It's only 6 months. It has been approved as a 501c3 last February. We applied last November in 2021, but we were not. We were approved as a nonprofit organization, but we want it to be a 501c3. And we applied. You have to wait for 90 days since November, and in February we received the approval from the IRS. So it's only 6 months to the Bureau.
So far, tell us about any current projects that you've had.
Yeah, it's as I mentioned before, it's the response of the community is very overwhelming. There are Wanakee High School students that are coming to my house this coming Saturday to pack balikbayan boxes to be sent to the Philippines, to send to the survivors of human trafficking, domestic abuse. And there are like maybe 5 students are coming in. And then we also sponsor a whole, there's a golf event that will be in September 24th. And we will have a racing event. It is a Chipotle fundraising event that will be on October 22nd. And the Social Services Committee is planning to work with the homeless, the tiny homes. And we are planning to have a gala in Milwaukee next year. So far, that is all I can remember for now.
Janet, sending balikbayan boxes in the Philippines seems to me to be kind of tedious. That is a tedious work. Do you get some help in doing that?
Yes. So when I posted on Facebook, we have a group here in Wanakee. So just to correct you, I am from Wanakee, Wisconsin, not from Milwaukee. So when I posted on Facebook, I need help to my Facebook and also in Wanakee. It's a very overwhelming response. I could not even walk through our living room because we have a lot of donation from them. We have shoes, we have clothes, from kids to adults. We have books. We have everything. It is very tedious. If you will think it in a negative way, it's very tedious. It takes a lot of work, but I am not that kind of person. I am so negative. We're helping a lot of people, and we are blessed to be here in America. So, and there are a lot of people helping me this out.
I really admire your tenacity and hard work, Janet, doing that. Really, I know how hard it is. I understand, and congratulations. So, how do you see the organization Global Inspiration in 5 years from now?
For now, we are only 6 months old, and I can feel that the overwhelming support of the community. How much more 5 years from now? So I would say that 5 years from now, I would see Global Inspiration to be better, stronger, and I want not just the adults or the teens to be talking regarding Global Inspiration, including the kids. In fact, I have kids volunteering for the packing of the donation boxes this coming Saturday. So it will be the kids, the teens, and the adults that will be talking about Global Inspiration. And then we will have more partners in the Philippines. For now, we have 5 partners in the Philippines, but I hope in 5 years it will grow more. And that's how I can see 5 years from today, Mr. Darrell.
5 years from today. Wow. I believe you. I really admire you. And before we sign off, one last word for our viewing audience for what you do.
About Global Inspiration?
Inspiration.
Yes. Global Inspiration is spelled as I, instead of I for inspiration, it will be one, because I want you to know that we are all one. Regardless of our religion, regardless of our race, regardless of our age, sexual preferences, and physical capacity, we are all one. And Global Inspiration has this code. We need to be seen, we need to be heard, and be an inspiration of the world. Whether you are a single mom, you are homeless, we are all one. And I want people to know, be kind. Be kind to survivors of human trafficking. Be kind to survivors of domestic abuse and suicide relationship, rape of victims. And be kind to them. Your $5, your $10 counts a lot to family who needs financial support.
Is there any plan in increasing the membership, and how?
There is no membership. We only have the board, the executive board, and we have the directors. We have director of fundraising, director of social services, director of marketing, and director of education. It is easy to manage, I think, rather than being controlled by the membership. So it's open to everybody. Open to everybody. You can volunteer, you can donate, whatever.
All right, Janet. It is really a pleasure interviewing you today. I really admire you, and I salute you for what you're doing. By the way, Janet is the recipient of our Chicago Filipino Asian American Hall of Fame.
Yes, and I have interviewed also Gina, one of the recipients of the Hall of Fame. And it is good. I also have a Global Inspiration podcast, which prodded me to create a Global Inspiration nonprofit 501c3.
Maybe you can nominate for our upcoming projects some of those women helping you in for the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I will get in touch with you, and I really congratulate you for what you're doing, and keep us updated. Keep us updated. So we really don't care how many times we have interviewed you. We would love to have you in our show.
Yeah. Thank you for the privilege to be interviewed by your show, Tita Vera.
Thank you so much. Maraming salamat po sa inyong panonood. At yan po si Miss Janet Jordy. I hope you've really recognized her and also learned something about the global inspiration today. Janet, oh, you're really going global. I salute you.
Hopefully.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye, Tita Vera.
Oh, dadan!
Yan! Dito na! Perfect!
Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat and welcome to Veronica's segment of this show. Today I have a very interesting Filipino personality and he's actually very well known as far as I'm concerned, a well-known pianist in the world, in the world of music, okay? And let's big welcome in our show, Mr. Victor Santiago Asuncion. We have interviewed him several years ago, and love to welcome him back. Welcome to our show, Victor.
Thank you so much, Veronica. It's so good to see you again after so many years.
Yeah, and we still, I think, look good for our age now.
Absolutely. Just like fine wine, you know?
Yeah. We want to do that. Okay. Okay, Victor, you're here once again for a new project or new performance.
Yes.
That you'll be doing. Okay. First thing I want to ask, what draws you to music?
Oh, that's a heavy question. I think, I think everyone has music inside themselves, and I think mine just needs to be released all the time. So for me, it's like music is life. So it's something that I cannot live without. It's something that I coexist with. So it's like water for me. So, it's something I need. So that's primarily what draws me to it. It's just something that I, need to survive.
All right. It must have started during your childhood.
I actually started shortly before I turned 11 years old, which is pretty late for most pianists, because a lot of my colleagues started when they were 5 or 6, and some even started when they were 4.
Oh my
so I feel like I'm still catching up. So at my advanced age, I'm still playing catch up in terms of what I still need to learn and how I play and all of the things.
So, what is your educational background in music?
So I went to the Philippine High School for the Arts back in the Philippines. This was an arts boarding school that was actually modeled after the Interlaken School for the Arts in Michigan. And this was a project of the former First Lady Imelda Marcos. So I was there for my entire high school for 4 years. And then I went to the University of the Philippines, College of Music in Quezon City. And then I came to the United States. Yes, we are. Yes, absolutely. And so I came to the United States to do further studies, and I went to Manhattan School of Music. I went to the Harrod Conservatory, the Hart School of Music in Hartford, Connecticut, and I ultimately got my doctorate degree at the University of Maryland in College, Maryland.
All right. So, I'm really so proud of you. So
Oh, thank
impressive. Your background is really very impressive. And well, I know that is your world now. So, but how did you connect to the new Philharmonic and Maestro Mosprat?
So Maestro Kirk Musprat reached out to me when the great cellist Lynn Harrell passed away. So my association with Maestro Musprat is actually kind of through another great musician that I was associated with for over 20 years. I play with Mr. Lynn Harrell at like many concerts since 1999, and Mr. Harrell was a soloist with Maestro Musprat, and he had recommended me in the past. So when Mr. Harrell died, we connected, and he fortunately decided to invite me to play with one of his orchestras. So yeah, after so many years, I'm finally going to get to work with Maestro Musprat and the New Philharmonic Orchestra.
Great, terrific. Okay, my next question is, does Tchaikovsky's Concerto number 1 in B flat minor have any special meaning for you? And what are your challenges?
This work has a very special meaning to me because I actually had to learn this piece within a few days, many years ago. My manager at the time contacted me and said that there was a soloist in with an orchestra that could not play the concerto because of visa restrictions. So she asked me if I knew the piece. And I said, well, of course, what pianist doesn't know this piece? But she didn't ask me if I played it. And so she asked me if I would do it. And I said, sure, when is the concert? And she said, well, it's not tomorrow. So a week later, I was in Mexico City playing the concerto, which, literally had to learn over 3 days, and then fly to Mexico and perform it with the Mexico City Orchestra, and kind of do a tour of the country with it. So yeah, it holds a very special meaning to me because of the kind of like the insanity surrounding my learning the piece. So I've played it many times since, but the first time, you always remember it. So that's how I got to know this concerto many years ago.
Goodness. Wow, that is really so impressive. And that was, instantly you can just play it like, wow. Really superior.
Thank you.
And, my next question is there anything in particular you want the audience to take away from your performance?
Well, I think, every time I perform, my aim is usually to be able to touch at least one person, like emotionally, and hopefully inspire them, make their day, and make them feel great. And if I do that, if I manage to do that, at least just one person, then I would have succeeded. So that's really the takeaway that I always want for people to have whenever I perform. It's just sharing the joy of music.
At least one person?
At least one person. Yes. Yes.
Wow, I bet you really impressed or touched everyone's heart that hears your music.
Oh, I hope so.
I think so. I think so. That to invite me again to one of your performances.
Oh, I would love to actually, yeah. And I actually wanted to talk about a foundation, a nonprofit.
Music Foundation.
Yeah.
Very interesting, and you have to talk about it now.
Absolutely. So Phil Music Foundation stands for Filipino American, of course, for those who don't know the nickname. So I founded it in 2018. And it's a nonprofit. We're a 501c3 and incorporated in Illinois. We aim to promote classical musicians of Filipino descent. And the reason behind that is because in classical music, you very rarely see or hear Filipino representation. We are around, we are members of great orchestras, we're faculty at great universities, and we perform all over the world, and yet we are not properly represented, unlike other Asian citizenship. Like you frequently hear about Japanese violinists and Chinese pianists and South Korean cellists, but you very rarely hear of Filipino, classical musicians. In fact, I can only think of really one person that kind of reached that sense of like recognizability. I don't know if you've heard of Cecile Licad, and she was a protege of Imelda Marcos. And so, I feel like by having this foundation and kind of like discovering all the Filipino American classical musicians that are out there and kind of like rounding them up and presenting them in performances and also helping them out with scholarships, then we can have a more proper representation in the field of classical music. And it's also my way of giving back, because when I first came to America, I had absolutely no connections, and a bunch of strangers basically helped me fulfill my dreams, like, finishing my school and being able to perform everywhere. So I got a lot of help from people that have now become my family. And so this foundation is a means of giving back and, just kind of helping along the young artists of Filipino descent that are coming up and helping them get started with their careers. So that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. Oh, Victor, you have founded this organization in 2018.
Yeah.
And so far, that's a few years ago. How are you doing? Have you has the organization been affected by COVID, or
Yeah.
it's going on? And how many films have you touched?
So we were lucky that back in 2018 we got a running start. We had real support from my board. They're all Filipinos, of course, with one exception, an American pianist who I count as a really, really great friend. And we were able to present a series of concerts in New York City at the Philippine Consulate on Fifth Avenue. And we were able to identify, at this point, we've been able to identify at least 12 Filipino American classical musicians. And we've helped them by presenting them in performances, and then also helping them with some financial assistance, like when they wanted to go to a music festival, or when they needed their instruments to be repaired, or when they needed to have a private lesson with someone well known. And you mentioned COVID, and our last big event was in New York City at the home of Consul General Cristobal at the time. This was in 2020 in February. And we had a very successful fundraiser at his home. And we were supposed to culminate that year with a performance in Carnegie Hall. And of course, the pandemic put an end to all of that. But I sort of started thinking out of the box and decided that concerts didn't really have to stop. So I found a venue here in Evanston, an outdoor venue, and we basically continued presenting performances. And we looked at and basically sourced within locally. So I was able to invite my friends who are members of the Chicago Symphony, members of the Chicago Lyric Orchestra, and Milwaukee Symphony, and a lot of other musicians that are based in Chicago. And we kept performing outdoors. So yeah, I mean, it put an end to our, like we had so many other concerts planned in California and Europe and all of these places. But now that the pandemic is sort of easing up, we've actually planned 2 concerts in Carnegie Hall. One is coming up in November the 6th this year. And we are presenting 3 incredible Filipino-American musicians. And then in May of 2023, we have another concert, and we are presenting another incredible young violinist who is currently studying in New York City. So I think we're slowly getting back on track. And hopefully, we can continue to expand. We have planned performance in Canada, and I also just came back from a small European tour, where I also performed with a Filipino-American cellist. So we're just trying to get back into the swing of things. So hopefully with COVID easing up, we can keep going.
Have you tried performing locally in Chicago? Have you tried getting in touch with our Philippine consulate? It sounds to me that you have been doing performances outside.
No, so we have a concert series here in Evanston, and we present at least 8 concerts a year. And also we perform at Pianoforte Foundation, which is downtown on Michigan Avenue. And we have been very, very fortunate to have had the support of Consul General Ding Paez. She has attended our performances and many times, in fact, and she has brought a bunch of consuls with her, and she in fact also helps me organize the European tour. She reached out to her friends that are working in the diplomatic community and introduced me to them, the ones that are working in London and The Hague, in Amsterdam, and also in Brussels. So we've had a lot of local support from our Consul General here, and we've also had her over here in my house for a little reception. And yes, we're definitely trying to make our mark here, especially in Evanston and in the surrounding areas, because there is a great wealth of audiences that's waiting to be tapped. So yeah, so I hope that answers your question.
Okay, very good. Can I suggest that for your promotion, please get in touch with Via Times and Cprtv. I really like your foundation.
Thank you.
I have Mr. Ryan Terro interview you for our next issue for your about your foundation.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you.
Right, because community wise, the roots you have
Yes.
promoted
Mhm.
in our area. I mean, Chicago, Pilam area.
Right.
So that
Right.
they would recognize you and about your work. This is really fantastic. I'm telling you. Okay, let's get in touch.
I will.
I have
Yes.
info and okay. One last question.
Sure.
There, a question that we have missed that you want for this interview that you want to emphasize to our viewing audience.
Well, actually, I just hope they can make it to our concert. This is on September 24 at 7:30 p.m. and then on the 25th at 3 p.m. And this is at the McCannich Arts Center at the College of DuPage County. And this is with the New Philharmonic Orchestra conducted by the great maestro Kirk Musprat. And we are Tchaikovsky Piano Concerto No. 1, B flat minor.
All right. Very good. That will be September or August 20th?
September 24 and 25.
24 and 25.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. That's in the page? The page count?
College. Yes.
College. The page.
At the McCannich Center for the.
Very good, Victor. I really appreciate your appearance on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Talking to you once again, and just please keep in touch, okay?
Absolutely, I will. This is such a great surprise. I had no idea that, I was going to see you today.
Yeah, the same thing here.
Yeah.
Surprise. And Victor, I wish you good luck.
Thank
and,
you.
Well, more good luck to your
Thanks.
To your performances, to your art. Okay.
Thank you so much.
And it will be nice to see you once again. And so keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
At magandang, I hope you enjoyed our show, mga kababayan. Yeah. This is our another kababayan in our show today. And please, get in touch with us for information, more information about this. Victor Santiago Asuncion performances. Bye.
Bye.
We would like to welcome all of you to Baladna Jewelry. We have a very big selection of 21 karat gold jewelry imported from the Middle East, from Dubai, Saudi, and Bahrain. And we have a very big selection of diamond. We offer free financing for 6 months, and we have a layaway system which you can leave your stuff for 3 months. We repair gold and we buy old gold. Welcome to Baladna Jewelry.
Salamat po. Hello, good day, Cprtv viewers. This is Pastor Ed from Faith Family Worship Center coming to you live once again for our devotion just a very short devotion. And for our devotion this morning or today, I'd like to read Colossians chapter 1, verses 9 through 14. This is the Apostle Paul's letter to the Colossian church. And this is what he said, starting in verse 9 of chapter 1. For this reason, since the day we heard about you, we have not stopped praying for you. We continually ask God to fill you with the knowledge of His will through all the wisdom and understanding that the Spirit gives. Verse 10, so that you may live a life worthy of the Lord and please Him in every way, bearing fruit in every good work, growing in the knowledge of God, being strengthened with all power according to His glorious might, so that you may have great endurance and patience, and giving joyful thanks to the Father, who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of His holy people in the kingdom of light. And then verse 13 and 14, for He has rescued us from the dominion of darkness and brought us into the kingdom of the Son He loves, in whom we have redemption and the forgiveness of sins. From these passages, we can see how Paul is encouraging the church in Colossae. The church in Colossae was experiencing some real threats from the so-called Gnostics, false teachers who claim that there is more than one way, there is more than one truth, and that Jesus is just one of the emanations from God, that He's not sufficient, that there's got to be another way to God other than the Lord Jesus. And the Gnostics are also claiming that you have to have a special knowledge. You have to belong to a secret society, and you have to have inner knowledge before you can be one with God or before you can have salvation. And so Paul wrote this letter to the Colossian church, first of all, to encourage them and also to warn them about these false teachings that had pervaded in the church. And so Paul started with just words of encouragement from verse 9. And verse 10, he affirmed their faith and their love towards one another. And if you will notice what Paul said, he said, for this reason, since the day we heard about you, we have not stopped praying for you. Paul understood the threats that the Colossian church was in because of the false teachings and false teachers in their midst. And so he said, I have not stopped praying for you. And we continually ask God to fill you with the knowledge of His will through all the wisdom and understanding that the Spirit gives. So Paul was praying for wisdom and knowledge to be upon the church so that they will not be swayed by false doctrines. And then he said, so that you may live a life worthy of the Lord and please Him in every way, bearing fruit in every good work, growing in the knowledge of God and being strengthened with all power according to His glorious might, so that you may have great endurance and patience, and giving joyful thanks to the Father who has qualified us or qualified you to share in the inheritance of His holy people in the kingdom of light. So this is really a very powerful prayer, an encouraging prayer for the Colossian church. And he reminded them about how God has rescued them from the dominion of darkness in verse 13 and brought them into the kingdom of the Son He loves, in whom we have redemption and the forgiveness of sins. So from the get-go, from the very beginning, Paul mentioned about their salvation in Christ and how their salvation in Christ has moved them from the dominion of darkness into the kingdom of the Son He loves. There are only two kingdoms, and we either belong to one or the other, the kingdom of darkness or the kingdom of light. And the way to enter the kingdom of light is by faith, trusting in Jesus, believing in the finished work of the cross and just accepting Him into your life and repenting from your sins and surrendering everything to the Lord Jesus, making Him Lord and Master of your life. That's the way to enter the kingdom of light, the kingdom of the Lord Jesus Christ. And so, my brothers and sisters, I just want to encourage you with these words. I pray that the Lord will open our eyes, fill us with spiritual wisdom and knowledge and understanding, so that we may know that Jesus is sufficient, that in Jesus we are complete in Him, and that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And no one can go to the Father except through Him. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.
Good afternoon. This is Bridget Carino Cueto bringing you this week's local news from our community. A new report released by the National Partnership for New Americans, NPNA, SEIU, and other local organizations revealed that over 96,000 newly naturalized Americans in Georgia who naturalized between 2016 and 2020 could significantly influence the outcome of the 2022 midterm elections. This number exceeds over 8 times the state's November 2020 presidential election voting margin for victory and the 2021 Senate runoff election margin of 93,272 votes. This voting bloc, called New American Voters, is racially and ethnically diverse, with a majority coming from Asia, 37,773 or 39%, and the Americas, 34,479 or 36%, followed by new citizens coming from Africa, 15,510 or 16%. These groups are larger than the 11,779 vote margin of victory during the November 2020 presidential election. The findings are based on U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, naturalization data from 2016 to 2020, as well as naturalization applications that the agency approved in 2021. USDA is making the funding available through the Higher Blends Infrastructure Incentive Program. This program seeks to market higher blends of ethanol and biodiesel by sharing the costs to rebuild the retrofit biofuel-related infrastructure, such as pumps, dispensers, and storage tanks. The Biden-Harris administration recognizes that rural America is the key to reducing our reliance on fossil fuels and giving Americans cleaner, more affordable options at the pump. Vilsack said, "Biofuels are homegrown fuels. Expanding the availability of higher blend fuels is a win for American farmers, the rural economy, and hard-working Americans who pay the price here at home when we depend on volatile fuel sources overseas." The Maywood Baton Day Memorial Service returns on September 10th at 3 p.m. in Maywood Veterans Park at 1st Avenue and Oak Street in Maywood. This service marks the 81st anniversary for this event. Interested local community members, community leaders, veterans, and descendants of veterans are invited to gather again to remember these men. The Maywood Baton Day organization is dedicated to preserving the memory of Baton Day and perpetuating the observance of Maywood's Baton Day on the second Sunday of September. Our modern mission includes supporting veterans of all wars and providing educational resources through our archives and website at mbdo.org. The Maywood Baton Day organization is a nonprofit 501c19 organization supported by donations of time and money from the community, as well as relatives and friends of those who have served their country. The Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, Illinois EPA, has announced a temporary suspension of all household hazardous waste HHW collection events and locations after a fire occurred at the current disposal facility in Ohio. Illinois EPA is working with the current contractor to evaluate alternatives for disposal. Illinois EPA is suspending the scheduled one-day HHW collections planned for this fall, as well as the long-term HHW disposal facilities in Chicago, Naperville, Lake County, Rockford, and Madison County that Illinois EPA supports until normal disposal operations can resume. Illinois EPA currently has a contract for the disposal of collected HHW, which disposes much of the collected waste at an incinerator located in Ohio. The Ohio facility had a fire in July, which required them to cease operations until specifically made parts can be shipped from Germany. It is estimated that the facility will not be operational until mid-November. The Illinois Student Assistance Commission, ISAC, has launched the application for a student loan repayment assistance program to support qualified mental health and substance abuse professionals. The Community Behavioral Healthcare Professional Loan Repayment Program is designed as an incentive for recruitment and retention of those who practice in underserved or rural areas. While the program was approved by the General Assembly, signed into law by Governor Pritzker, and made effective in 2019, it had not been previously funded due to budget constraints. The Illinois Department of Human Services Division of Mental Health, IDHS, with new funding from the state's cannabis program, reached out to ISAC to discuss partnership, and the General Assembly and Governor approved ISAC to use up to $5 million in funding for FY23. That's all for today. Thank you for watching our news this week. This is Bridget. See you next time.
Yan! Dito na! Perfect!
And that's our show for today. Thank you all for watching Chicago Philippine Reports TV. We hope you will stay safe and enjoying this day with your family and friends. I'm Maria Girly Pascual. Maraming salamat sa inyong pagsubaybay and we'll see you back here next week.